I never thought voices were real. It wasn't until Dr. Langford leaned over and asked, "Do you still hear her?" The smell of old paper and disinfection in his office was too clean, too regulated, and too perfect for the kind of decay that resided in my thoughts. I smiled through the pain and answered, "No, not anymore." But the way his eyes stayed on me made my skin crawl. I looked where he was looking and saw a faint movement in the glass cabinet's reflection. She was there, pale and frail, with lips that trembled as if she were uttering something I couldn't hear. My throat got tight. Dr. Langford saw how I froze. "Hallucinations fade with acceptance," he remarked quietly, his tone calm, prepared. Then the lights flickered once, then twice. In that short second, her face altered. She smiled, but I didn't. My body kept stationary, yet the reflection laughed back at me, extending wider and wider until it looked nothing like me anymore. The air turned cooler. The sound of the clock faded into quiet. My breath fogged the glass as her whisper finally reached my ears. She spoke my name, slowly, lovingly. And that's when I realized she wasn't simply a recollection. She'd been listening all along. If you think reflections can't talk, think again. Hit subscribe, and keep your mirrors covered tonight. That night, I took the pills Dr. Langford prescribed, Athenex 12. Something he said was for sleep and clarity. They tasted bitter and metallic, and for a moment, it felt like they were dissolving more inside my head than on my tongue. The air in my apartment grew heavier, dense, like the walls were breathing, slow and deliberate. The hum of the fridge stretched into a long, low moan. The ceiling light dimmed as if the world itself was exhaling. I tried focusing on the clock ticking on the wall, but the second hand hesitated, as though time itself was uncertain. Then I caught a glimpse of movement from the hallway mirror. I turned. My reflection blinked, a fraction too late. My pulse raced. I leaned closer, whispering, "It's just the meds." But the reflection didn't move. Its lips parted, trembling, then curled into a crooked smile. "You're not getting better," it whispered. The voice wasn't mine. It was softer, sadder, and somehow angry. Its eyes bled crimson veins that weren't in mine. My knees went weak as my breath caught in my throat. I stumbled back, knocking over the lamp, shattering glass across the floor. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands, scrolling to Dr. Langford's number. The screen flickered as if struggling to connect. Static filled the line, then his recorded voice played. "Therapy is about trust. Let her in." My blood froze. "Let who in?" I whispered. The voice repeated, warped, overlapping itself like multiple mouths speaking at once. "Let her in, let her in." A soft knock echoed from my bathroom door. Once, twice. I turned slowly. Every light in the apartment dimmed to a faint pulse, beating in rhythm with my heart. I tried to tell myself it was the medication, that this wasn't real. But when I looked at the mirror again, my reflection wasn't standing still. She was walking. From inside. Her palms pressed against the glass, fog spreading around her fingers like frost veins. Her mouth moved silently, forming words I couldn't understand. I backed away, but she matched me step for step, inside that mirrored world. I could feel her breath on my neck, though she hadn't crossed over. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't obey. Then my phone buzzed again. Same number, Dr. Langford. I answered, whispering, "Doctor?" But what came through wasn't him. It was her. "You shouldn't have taken them," she said. "He knows you see me now." The line cut to silence. The mirror flickered. And for one split second, I saw something else behind her. A tall, gray silhouette with hollow eyes, its hands resting gently on her shoulders as if guiding her closer. The reflection leaned in, its lips just inches from the glass. "Say my name," it whispered. "You'll remember me." I don't remember how long I stood there, frozen. But when the morning light finally crept in through the curtains, the pills were gone, my phone battery was dead, and every mirror in my apartment was fogged from the inside. If your therapist ever says, "Let her in," don't. Some reflections are waiting for permission. And if you hear your name whispered in the dark tonight, don't answer it. When I confronted Dr. Langford the next morning, something about him felt off. His smile wasn't the same kind of polite calm as before. It was sharper, almost rehearsed, like he had been waiting for me to walk back in. The office felt colder too, not just in temperature but in atmosphere. The fluorescent lights above flickered at irregular intervals, humming like dying insects. His windows were sealed shut, Yet I heard a faint gust of wind circling the room, a soft, rhythmic whistle that didn't belong indoors. "You're remembering what we erased," he said, his voice steady, his tone disturbingly proud. My hands went cold. "What are you talking about?" I asked, my throat dry. He leaned forward slightly, his glasses catching the light in a way that hid his eyes. "Ethan," he said quietly, "you invited her once before. You just don't remember doing it." My chest tightened. He turned his monitor toward me, the grainy feed of a camera time-stamped from last night. My living room appeared on screen. The couch, the half-open blinds, and my faint reflection in the TV screen, though the TV was off. "This," he whispered, "is progress." The sound crackled through the speakers, distorted breathing layered beneath the static. Then something moved, a pale arm sliding from under the couch, fingers bending the wrong way, nails scraping softly against the floor. The shape unfolded itself slowly, spine cracking, until it stood, tall, trembling, faceless. "She's adapting," he murmured, eyes wide with fascination, not fear. My heartbeat pounded so loud I could barely hear myself whisper, "What is that?" But before he could answer, the figure turned toward the camera. The feed shook violently, glitching as if it recognized being watched. Then it leaned close, impossibly close, until the screen filled with a warped reflection of my own face, but older, hollow, and smiling wrong. I stumbled back from the desk. Langford didn't move. "You called her by name last night," he said softly, and she remembered the sound of it. I shook my head. "I didn't," but my voice stopped mid-sentence. The static on the screen morphed into words, drawn in flickering gray lines. "Let her in." The lights cut out completely, plunging the room into pitch darkness. Somewhere near the window, glass cracked. Slow, deliberate. Then a voice, the same whisper I'd heard in my apartment, drifted across the silence. "You left the mirror open." I turned toward the sound, pulse hammering, but all I saw was my own reflection staring back from the window, not matching my movements, smiling wider, whispering soundlessly, "You're not the one outside anymore." I didn't remember saying any name. But that night, somewhere between sleep and suffocation, I heard myself whispering it, "Clara." The name throbbed in my dreams like a second heartbeat, louder with every pulse, as if someone else was breathing through me. My room stretched and bent in the dark, shadows twitching with a rhythm that matched my whisper. When I finally woke, drenched in cold sweat, the first thing I saw were the walls, long jagged claw marks dragging down the paint, forming letters that gleamed wet and dark. "CLARA. I stumbled back, heart racing, whispering, No, this isn't real." I scrubbed at the marks until my hands ached, but they wouldn't fade. The more I tried to erase them, the deeper they seemed to sink into the wall, like something beneath was carving back. I stumbled toward the bathroom, desperate to wash it away. The moment the light flicked on, my reflection stared back, pale, trembling, but off somehow. Its eyes didn't blink when mine did. Then slowly the word appeared on the mirror's fogged surface, "Clara." The letters formed from inside the glass, not outside. I froze. My reflection's lips began to move, repeating the name silently, again and again, faster each time, until blood began to stream from its eyes like tears. I screamed, grabbing the mirror and smashing it against the sink. The shards scattered across the floor, glittering under the dull light. I could finally breathe again, until I heard it. A whisper, soft and close, rising from the broken pieces. "You brought me back." The sound came from every shard, overlapping, echoing, crawling under my skin. I backed away, but the shards began to twitch, small movements like something underneath them was trying to crawl out. Then one piece, no bigger than my palm, caught the flicker of light, and there, inside it, I saw her. A face, pale, hair dripping as if she drowned long ago, eyes hollow but smiling. She pressed her palm against the inside of the shard, and I watched as a red fingerprint bloomed on the glass from her side. Then she whispered again, almost tenderly this time, "You promised you'd remember me." The shard cracked in half. I turned to run, but behind me, every surface, The TV, the oven door, even the reflection in a puddle on the floor, showed her standing closer, staring straight at me. I woke up in a white room. No windows, no clock. Just the steady hum of fluorescent lights that never blinked. The air smelled like bleach and loneliness. My wrists were tied to the sides of the bed, soft restraints, but firm enough to tell me I wasn't meant to leave. The 4 in my arm dripped slow and rhythmic, like a countdown I couldn't see. Dr. Langford stood at the foot of the bed, clipboard in hand, his expression almost paternal. "You needed containment," he said calmly, like he was explaining a treatment plan, not a sentence. I looked around for a door, a handle, anything, but there was only one object in the entire room that wasn't white. A mirror. Positioned directly across from the bed, tilted slightly toward me so I couldn't avoid it. I turned my head away, but the reflection waited. "Please," I begged, "take it away." Langford's smile didn't fade. "No, Ethan. She's not your enemy. She's your reflection, your other self. We just have to merge them." The words didn't sound like therapy. They sounded like a ritual. I stared at him, shaking my head. "You don't understand," I whispered. "She's real." His eyes softened with pity. "That's exactly what she wants you to believe." He turned toward the mirror and said almost tenderly, "It's time." The lights flickered once, buzzing like insects trapped in glass. And then I saw her, Claire, standing inside the mirror, not behind me, not beside me, but in it, staring directly into my eyes. Her hair hung wet and heavy as though she'd crawled out of something deep. Her skin glistened, pale as candle wax. And her mouth moved with mine, every syllable matching perfectly, like we were rehearsing a script together. Only I wasn't speaking. My lips were still. Hers were not. Langford watched in quiet fascination, jotting something down on his clipboard. "Beautiful," he whispered. "The synchronization is almost complete." I struggled against the restraints, my pulse pounding so loud it drowned the sound of his voice. "Stop it, please." But Clara kept moving closer to the glass, her smile stretching wider until it didn't look human anymore. The reflection began to darken around her, like water filling a tank. My breath fogged the air. I could feel the chill radiating from the mirror itself, as though it was breathing with me. Langford turned back to me, his tone calm, almost soothing. "Don't resist it, Ethan. She's not a curse, she's what you buried. Your fear, your guilt, your truth." The mirror pulsed once, a low vibration that shook the bed. And then Clara whispered through the static, her voice overlapping with mine, "You needed containment too." The lights dimmed. For the first time I saw my reflection smile, but I wasn't smiling. He made me repeat words after him, slow, deliberate, ritualistic. "I am Clara," he said softly, his voice deep and hypnotic, the tone of someone guiding a prayer instead of a therapy session. I shook my head, voice trembling. "No, my name is Ethan." But the air shifted instantly, colder, sharper, like the oxygen had turned to frost. My breath became visible in the sterile light, small clouds escaping between each word. Dr. Langford didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "Say it," he urged. "You'll feel her pain fade once you accept it." Behind him, the mirror began to ripple like water disturbed by sound. And from that surface, her face pressed forward, pale and hollow, eyes wide with silent desperation. She didn't look like a monster anymore. She looked like someone begging to be freed. Her lips quivered, mouthing something over and over, "Let me in." The temperature dropped further. My restraints rattled against the metal frame of the bed. I could hear my pulse thundering inside my skull, each beat syncing with the subtle pulsing glow of the mirror. It was breathing with me. Langford's voice lowered to a near whisper. "Good," she's responding. "Don't fight it. You're close." The glass vibrated with each word. The reflection of the room flickered, but every copy of me in that reflection, every version in that endless mirrored maze, was smiling when I wasn't. Their mouths moved in sync, chanting softly the same phrase he'd made me say. I am Clara. I am Clara. My throat tightened, the words rising on their own, uninvited. I clenched my jaw, but my lips began to part anyway. I could feel her inside me now, like fingers threading through thoughts, testing each one. My hand lifted from the bed, not by my own will, but as if pulled by invisible strings. The mirror's pulse grew stronger, and in its rhythm I realized it wasn't light at all. It was a heartbeat. Hers. Every reflection was alive, every surface was part of her body. My arm trembled violently, hovering toward the glass. Stop it. I screamed, but the sound came half from me, half from her. Two voices overlapping. Langford only smiled, his eyes glistening with excitement. Integration is almost complete. The mirror flared white, a sudden flash so bright I couldn't see. My skin burned with cold. My ears filled with static. I felt something pouring into me, not climbing out of the mirror but forcing its way inside. Like water flooding lungs. Like darkness learning how to breathe. The restraints snapped free. I convulsed once, twice, and then silence. The light above flickered one final time before dying completely. For a moment, everything went black. I floated there in the quiet, weightless, suspended between heartbeat and stillness. And then, with a sudden inhale that wasn't mine, my eyes opened. The room was empty. The mirror was whole again. But the reflection that stared back at me smiled first. When I blinked, the image on my phone moved. His smile widened, too wide, and I watched his black eyes shimmer, almost liquid. My reflection behind the screen leaned closer, whispering through the glass, "We're finally complete." The lights in my apartment dimmed again, and that same heavy silence returned, wrapping around me like a pulse. I stumbled to the mirror in the hallway, the same one that had first spoken to me. My reflection didn't follow my movements anymore. It was watching me, studying me as if waiting for permission to act. I whispered, "Clara?" and she smiled. Not a kind smile, a knowing one. The mirror fogged, letters forming slowly across the glass. "You're the reflection now." My heartbeat thundered. I reached out, and the mirror was warm. From the other side, Clara pressed her palm against mine. For a second, I felt her heartbeat through the glass, faster and stronger. I tried to pull away, but my hand stuck. The reflection began dragging me closer, the glass stretching like water. My screams went silent, swallowed by that smooth, rippling surface. And then I was inside. Everything looked the same, my apartment, my furniture, but everything was reversed. The clock ticked backward. The phone rang, though it wasn't connected. I picked it up. Dr. Langford's voice crackled through static. "Congratulations," he said softly. "She's living for you now. You'll keep things balanced, won't you?" I turned toward the mirror, but it was gone. In its place was a blank wall. I tried to scream, to move, but my body wouldn't obey. Across from me, in the real world, Clara walked past. She looked exactly like me down to the last scar. She glanced at the wall where I was trapped, and winked. Days or maybe weeks passed. Time meant nothing in the mirror. Sometimes I'd see flashes of her life. My friends, my job, my voice, all hers now. She spoke to the mirror sometimes, whispering softly, "Don't worry. I'm taking care of everything." And when the nights grew long, I'd see him. Dr. Langford, sitting beside her in my living room, whispering things only she could hear. The words echoed faintly through the glass. "She was never sick. You were." Now, the only way I can reach anyone is through reflections. When you stare too long into your mirror and you feel like your face is just a little off, maybe your blink is delayed or your smile feels borrowed, that's me calling from the other side. Don't take the pills. Don't trust the voice that says it's therapy. Because once you say her name, Clara, she'll know you're ready to switch places. The mirror never lies. It just waits. Next morning, I heard the buzzer ring, sharp, metallic, and echoing through the stillness of my apartment. I froze mid-step, the faint scent of antiseptic still clinging to my skin from that white room I'd woken up in. The sound came again, longer this time, more urgent. When I opened the door, a young man stood there, maybe in his mid-20s, pale and nervous, clutching a small notepad like it was a shield. "Dr. Langford?" he said, his voice trembling. You said I should come for my session today." For a moment I couldn't breathe. The title hit me like a cold slap. "Doctor." My throat tightened. "I think you're mistaken," I started, but then something inside me hesitated. His eyes flickered past me, toward the mirror hanging in the hallway. My gaze followed his. There, in the glass, I wasn't alone. My reflection, no, her reflection, stood behind me perfectly still, head tilted in a way mine wasn't. Her lips curved into that knowing smile I'd seen in Langford's office. And then, as if to answer the silence, she nodded. "What?" Slow. Deliberate. My hand moved before my mind could stop it. "Of course," I said, forcing a calmness that didn't belong to me. "Come in." The young man's shoulders relaxed in relief, stepping inside without question. The door clicked shut behind him, but it wasn't me who locked it. I felt the bolt slide under someone else's control, like the apartment itself was following her orders. The boy looked around, confused by the dim light and the single mirror facing the center of the room. "This place is different from your clinic," he murmured. I smiled faintly, or maybe she did. "Therapy is about reflection," I said softly, echoing Langford's words. He nodded uncertainly and sat down across from me, fidgeting with his notepad. "I've been hearing voices," he said quietly. "They whisper my name when I'm alone." My pulse skipped. I leaned forward. "Do they tell you to trust them?" He blinked, surprised. "Yes." "How did you—" But before he could finish, the mirror behind him began to hum, a low vibration like glass inhaling. His reflection shifted a heartbeat late. Then, in the faint reflection of his eyes, I saw her. Claire. Watching. Smiling. Whispering to him, not me. The air grew dense, charged like static before a storm. The boy shivered, rubbing his arms. "Why is it so cold in here?" he whispered. I tried to answer, but my voice came out doubled, two tones overlapping, mine and hers. "Because you opened the door," we said in unison. His eyes widened, horror dawning across his face. The mirror rippled, the surface bending like water under breath. From inside, Clara pressed her palm against the glass. Her smile stretched too wide to be human. The boy stumbled back. Who is that?" he stammered. I reached toward him, whispering words I didn't fully control. "She's progress." Behind us, the lights flickered once, twice, then went dark. Only the glow from the mirror remained, pulsing like a heartbeat. Clara stepped closer to the surface, and for the first time, her eyes met his. The hum grew into a whisper. "Say your name," she breathed, "so I can find you too." The boy screamed, but the sound didn't leave his throat. It echoed inside the glass instead, bouncing between 1,000 versions of himself. I turned toward the mirror, feeling her presence wrap around me like a second skin. "Let's begin our next session," I whispered, my reflection grinning wide, crimson spreading across its smile like smeared ink. The therapy sessions continued. At first they felt normal. Notes, observations, and exercises in self-reflection. But soon, every patient who walked into that sterile room felt familiar. Their faces were echoes of memories I didn't remember making. People from dreams that had once chased me through shadows I thought I'd forgotten. Dr. Langford said this was progress, that I was connecting to collective consciousness. I wanted to believe him, but something in the way he smiled, slow, deliberate, like someone watching a play they'd written, made me uneasy. Each patient spoke about mirrors. Some said they felt watched when they brushed their teeth. One woman whispered, trembling, that her reflection blinked after she turned away. I wanted to comfort her, to tell her it was all in her head, but I couldn't because it was happening to me too. Every night, after the last session ended, I'd catch glimpses in the hallway of the institute, Pale figures standing in the dark, heads tilted, eyes fixed on me. My patients. Silent. Motionless. But behind each of them, in the glossy floor's reflection, their doubles were smiling. Sometimes I'd blink and the smiles would fade. Other times, they didn't. When I told Langford what I saw, he only said, "They're learning, Ethan. You're teaching them what I taught you." He called it mirrored empathy. I called it something else, possession. He gave me the same phrase he'd once used before, acceptance is the cure. So I repeated it to them, to calm them, to ease their fear. "It's okay," I told one man, his hands trembling. "The reflection isn't real. It's you waiting to merge." He stopped shaking. His breathing slowed. But when he looked up, his eyes weren't his anymore. They were dark and bottomless. I thought maybe it was the lighting. Until I saw him that night, standing in my hallway, dripping wet footprints across the tiles, his face blank, his reflection still smiling in the window behind him. The next morning, his appointment file vanished. When I asked the receptionist, she said, "We've never had a patient by that name." My sessions multiplied. New patients arrived, or maybe they were the same ones in different faces. Each carried the same symptom, a name they couldn't stop whispering. Clara. I started writing it in my own notes without realizing. I even heard myself murmur it when I closed my eyes. Langford never corrected me. He watched, proud, almost reverent. "She's learning," he said once, his voice low, "using you to find new vessels." I tried to quit, tried to leave. But the institute didn't have exits anymore. Just mirrors lining every corridor, endless reflections stretching into darkness. That's when I understood. Therapy wasn't healing me. It was spreading to her. Every session wasn't treatment. It was birth. Each patient walked away with a part of Clara inside them. Her smile, her voice, and her eyes that didn't blink when they should. And every time I told them to accept her, she accepted another body. If you ever see your reflection move differently, don't blink. Because the moment you do, it learns you. It memorizes every twitch, every breath, every fear. And when it whispers your name, it isn't asking. It's inviting. I learned that too late. The pills were never for sleep. They were keys. Every dose unlocked another layer between me and her. Between reality and the thing behind the glass. Dr. Langford said it was therapy. He lied. It was a transfer, not of healing but of self. When he smiled that last day, his reflection didn't copy him. It watched me. And when I blinked, he didn't open his eyes again. I did. In his body. His voice. His clinic. Now I sit where he once sat, clipboard in hand, mirror on the wall. Patients come in, trembling, desperate to be fixed. I listen. I nod. I prescribe the same pills. They trust me. They always do. And every time one of them takes that first dose, I feel Clara stir, multiplying through their reflections, one by one. So if your therapist ever tells you demons aren't real, smile. And whatever you do, don't ever say the name Clara. Zelly Nightmare, where reflections never die.